Is Utah recruiting trending in a positive direction? And Utah game times announced for this fall's football season. Let's discuss on today's Locked On Utes.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen every single day. We are available on all platforms, including YouTube and wherever you may get your podcast. If it's your first time listening to our show, make sure you like and subscribe. Love interacting with all the YouTube comments as well as on social media, where you can follow our show on Locked On Utes, on X at Locked On Utes today. Today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. You can visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. My name is JT Wistricll, former intern inside the University of Utah Athletic Department. Excited to be joined on today's show by Nate Carter of KSL Sports. And Nate, when you're talking about Utah recruiting, it's something that's an interesting spot, right? Utah kind of chose last year to largely ignore high school recruiting. They got 2 4-stars and a couple of quality 3-stars, but like overall, just for what they've done in the past, it wasn't the same type of class because they did put more emphasis in the transfer portal. This year, it feels like we're going to see Utah trend back with a stronger recruiting class, and one of the guys they're hoping to land to bolster that class is Josiah Hammond. Hammond's a 2025 guy. He's a defensive end, outside linebacker type, 6'4", 255, who currently is a guy who made a lot of plays this last fall in high school in his junior year. Had 44 tackles, 9 of those for loss, 2 sacks, and 27 quarterback pressures, which I've always cared more about quarterback pressure than sacks. I think it's a much more indicative of how successful you're going to be. And Hammond's the guy that, look, if you watch his tape, it's easy to get excited about. He visited Utah this past weekend. Nate, if Utah could land a commitment from Hammond, who of course has other interests, 13 other offers, Kansas, Washington, Arizona, Minnesota, all in the mix, I feel like this would be a really good get for Utah.
Yeah, he's been a hot commodity coming out of Oklahoma. Yeah, 6'4", 250. Excited to see those on the stat line there. Twitter has his name listed as Cheese as his nickname. So hopefully the Big Cheese makes it to Rice Eccles to play for sure. Did enjoy watching his film, JT. I thought he played very disciplined. A lot of edge guys we can see over pursue the play, take themselves out of it in the wash, open big cutback lanes. He did a really good job holding his edge and then getting to the quarterback when he could. 6'5" is not as a lot of body to move, but he looked pretty peaceful out there, cutting through the line and getting to the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I saw the same thing. I mean, quick off the snap, long and athletic, can light it up all over the field. Like they moved him around a lot. Like you rush inside, rush outside, just take advantage of those arm longs, that quickness off the snap, that athleticism. He can blow up plays. I love that you mentioned he does a good job setting the edge too. Got some good bend as well. I think he has the tool and a strong tackler. He has the tools to be a really successful pass rusher. Of course, I'd love to see more than 2 sacks, but as we said, I much more care about the pressure, showing that you can consistently get back there and wreak havoc. And I think that's something he be able to do. And this is a guy that if Luther Ellis and this Utah staff got their hands of, Nate, I think sky's the limit for what he could accomplish at Rice Eccles Stadium.
Yeah, for sure. Ellis is a great comp of someone kind of flying a 3-star. But yeah, I think that locker room could definitely get their hands on him and mold him into another 3rd round prospect possibly. So could be fun to see.
Yeah, that would be extremely exciting if Utah could do that. Mentioned they'll have to fend off some other schools to do it, but nice that Hammond came up to Utah. You can even see he tweeted out he had a great time on his visit to Utah, and Utah does a great job too. You can just click on Hammond's Twitter and you see like all the things in the background and like the photo. I mean, all the colleges honestly do a great job of making those photo shoots memorable. But you can tell that's one thing Utah definitely did a good job of there. And yeah, hopefully they can land Hammond. So his visit is in the past. So let's talk about a guy whose visit now is coming up, as Blair Ungolo does report that Dylan Robinson, a 4-star athlete, on this Saturday, June 7th, is going to be visiting Utah. The 2025 defensive back sets wide receiver is one of the top athletes in the country, according to Ungolo. 6'3", 195. Mentioned the 4-star guy. He's another one. Like, look, when you're talking about being a true two-way force, I can see it. As a receiver, he's a guy who does a good job, has that big catch radius, right? Really tough to tackle. I mean, my gosh, just turn on his tape. He's throwing defenders out of the way. He's shaking off tackles with his strong lower body. I love seeing it there. Does a good job just making defenders miss. But he's also got like that long wingspan is good for a catch radius, but also allows him to break up passes. He has quick feet, good reactions, allowing him to run crisp routes as well. And that good vertical allows him to really lock down guys on the outside. I'm not sure if he would be a wide receiver or defensive back at Utah, Nate, but either way, he'd be a nice addition to this program.
Yeah, definitely. We could see 6'3", 190 athlete. Excited to see where they could find him a spot on the team. If he came out here, he just received defensive back MVP honors at the SoCal Under Armour Next Camp. Bit of a mouthful, but sounds like a prestigious award for him to get recognition out there. Definitely saw him on film using that frame very well to be able to kind of bully out smaller cornerbacks when he was getting the ball. And yeah, lined up at corner at the high school level, might fit into being another big name safety at the U.
Yeah, the safety would be a great spot to see him at. I mean, it just feels like this is a guy where whether it is Morgan Scalley, Sharif Shaw working with, Alvis Whitted working with, it feels like a guy that the Utah staff would really succeed with as well. And there's stiff competition. I mean, we mentioned he has his visit with Utah coming up, but they are definitely not the only ones who are trying to vie for his services. He actually just had a visit with Washington. He's going to come up and have one with Notre Dame. Also got one with UCLA, and not surprising to see the California native potentially ending his stretch with the Bruins there. So they'll have a chance to make a strong impression on him. But this is a guy who I got to believe that Utah is a reason they got to visit in here is because of that strong winning tradition and culture and the ability to put guys into the NFL, Nate, which you want to, when you go to pick a college, you want to have a place where you can play early, where you can win and have a chance to get to the NFL. And we know Utah offers all three of those things in spades.
Yeah, for sure. We've had a lot of names get read off on draft day. So excited to see that opportunity for players as they come in and make their visits, be able to see that wall of DBs up there that have all made it to the next level. So exciting opportunity for them.
Yeah, it's an exciting spot for Utah to be in. And I mentioned off the top, I feel like this is an opportunity for Utah where you want to land a really strong recruiting class. Do you absolutely need to because of the transfer portal? No. But the way Utah has been successful is they don't want to be Colorado. They want to be a school where Colorado's just a bunch of transfers, basically. You want to be having guys rise up from within your program and then plugging in certain needs through the portal, right? I want more Keanu Tanuvasas, Spencer Fanos, Caleb Lomu, right? Guys who are rising up and starting the program who committed to Utah and grew in there. It's a combination of both that is conquering college football right now if you look across the nation. I think Utah has done a good job of balancing both, and landing Robinson and Hammond would be a big step in their continual dominance of what they hope they will do in their new Big 12 conference. And Utah's first year in the Big 12 is coming up, and we officially have some game times to talk about against some Big 12 and non-conference opponents. Want to break down those times and what they mean for the Utah football program in a moment. But first, want to discuss with you all one of the sponsors of today's episode of Locked On Utes, LinkedIn Talent Solutions. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn, they're not just another job board. They help you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role in a given month. Over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. You can hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time and resources to hire. That's why LinkedIn is constantly working on ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. And look, I can tell you all these great things about LinkedIn, but I know you like numbers more than anything for when you're talking about what's best for your businesses. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So you can get in on the action. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. All caps, no spaces, Locked On College. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free, where terms and conditions do apply. Nate, we're all fired up for Utah football. We're less than 100 days away. I actually think we're less than 90 days away now, too. So counting down the days until the glorious Utes are taking the field again in Wistricll Stadium, taking on the Southern Utah Thunderbirds. And speaking about that game against the Thunderbirds, we have some game times to talk about for this Utah football team. 4 of the game times were announced. Obviously, we got the UCF one was put out there a while ago, but the game times that were announced is August 29th, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. We're going to see Utah take on Southern Utah. That will be on ESPN Plus. Then we are going to see, which is weird to think about Utah football on streaming. I think for the first time, I know they were on the Pac-12 network, but ESPN Plus more of a streaming service, so still interesting there. Then September 7th, you have the Baylor game, 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time on Fox. That one's intriguing, a national network. Then Utah will slide over on September 14th, taking on Bryson Barnes, 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time on CBS Sports, before they take on the Arizona State Sun Devils at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time on ESPN October 11th. Nate, when I read off all of those game times, what are the biggest ones or just the highlights that stand out to you?
Yeah, playing in Fox against Baylor. They're coming here this year. 1:30 p.m. kickoff should be exciting. I guess the first Big 12 game as a Big 12 member. So excited to see them kind of set the tempo there. Kicking off the season, August 29th, Thursday night, a little bit trickier on the schedule for everybody making it out there. I know those parking lots get pretty full with people ready to celebrate. So we might get some people calling in sick to work on Friday.
Hey, they might start Thursday. I mean, if you want to tailgate epically early, we might see a lot of people calling into work even on Thursday. But you're right, it's going to be, make sure you guys get out there early because parking-wise is always a madhouse up at Wistricll Stadium. But yeah, I mean, we'll go through them. I mean, August 29th, taking on Southern Utah like that. We know Utah's going to win. I like that this is a Thursday game because it's one of those things where you play your first game and, well, number one, the starters, I don't expect to play much of the second half anyways, but it's just you get your first taste for game action. Then you get two extra days basically to rest and recover and prepare yourself for an upcoming showdown against a Baylor team that is a Power 4 opponent. And you, like you said, technically non-conference because it was scheduled before the Big 12 merger. This is their first game against a Big 12 school as a member of the Big 12. And I'm excited to get Baylor out here. We recently, Baylor is a team that it was close against Utah. They had a chance to win on the final play last year, but we know last year's Utah team with all of the injuries and things, that wasn't an accurate representation, and Utah's pretty good at home. I expect them to lay it down on Baylor in that one, and that one being on Fox is something that really excites me because it's a national game network, and that's an opportunity for Utah to get on the scene, more eyeballs on them, and everyone will be reacting to Utah putting hopefully a whooping on those Baylor Bears. So I think that's exciting to see. And the game on ESPN Plus is strange. Like we said, just in terms of Utah on a streaming service will be kind of weird like that. But this is the new era of college football. I mean, Amazon nearly had the rights to a bunch of these games that the Pac-12 would have survived. So we were close to having games on streaming. So seeing them on ESPN Plus will be weird, but still just two games that I expect Utah to win, and nice to get these game times up and scheduled. Right, Nate?
Yeah, I think everyone's excited for ESPN Plus streaming versus trying to find the Pac-12 network. Luckily, we won't have to do that again this season. I know. Shout out to friend of the show, Alex Naples, another KSL analyst. He actually made it out to the Baylor game last year, and he said it was so hot and humid. It was semi-miserable experience for him out there. So we're getting Baylor up here in the altitude. We'll see how they can hold up.
Yeah, I expect, and I don't expect that to be well, as we've seen most teams really struggle with the altitude. Moving on to the other game, I don't love the CBS Sports slot, right? That's just, once again, like you'd rather be on Fox or on the bigger networks in that instance on a CBS, but I understand. And I think this game's a lot of fun. I love the 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time. It's right in the middle of the day, more than enough time for everyone to get and make it out there. Would it be fun if it was a night game? Sure, but this is one that I'm just really excited to see. The storyline is so fun of Bryson Barnes taking on his own former team. I have a lot of confidence, of course, in Utah winning this game, but I do think it's just something fun and exciting to see Utah and Utah State playing each other yet again. And then this game, we got October 11th, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time against the Sun Devils of Arizona State. This is another one that I'm fired up about because this is a Sun Devils team that Utah's better than. It should be a win, but I think Kenny Dillingham is a good head coach. I do not think Utah is going to go on the road and lose this game at Arizona State, but It's an opportunity to continue to watch this Utah football team play. And I like that it's on ESPN too. So 2 of the first 4 of these games that have time scheduled, and there will be games played. Obviously, didn't talk about the Oklahoma State game. That game didn't get a time slot. That's going to be on a major network. So 3 of the team's first 5 games are going to be on Fox, ESPN, one of the big networks. I think that's fantastic for this Utah football brand, Nate.
Yeah, for sure. Heading out to Tempe, facing the Sun Devils after dark in October. Heading out to the game, you can still bring your swimsuit. Weather's going to be exciting out there in Arizona. But, yeah, Friday night, ESPN, be easy for everybody to tune in.
Do we agree, too, looking at the schedule? I feel like Utah 4-0 in these 4 games.
Yeah, I'm not scared by anybody here. It would be a real sad season if we had a hiccup through this stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. Southern Utah is FCS. You get a Utah State team that is just simply put not as good as Utah. There's a reason they're in the Mountain West. Utah, and as I say, they've done good things in the Mountain West, but they're not good things that Utah's done every single year, finishing 8-4 better for these past couple seasons, right? Like this was the state of the Utah program. And Arizona State and Baylor, they will be fighting to become bowl eligible. This is a Utah team that should be fighting to go to the college football playoff. So I'm not concerned about those games. We saw what Utah did the last time they were down at Arizona State too, and it was not pretty for the Sun Devils. And even when they came up to Utah last year, that one was really ugly. So programs in different directions, but exciting to have game times inching closer to these. I like the variety of game times. I know last year we had all those afternoon games, so I know some of you will be fired up to get that 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time game against Arizona State. That's going to be a late night for me, so I can't act like I'm thrilled about the time of that one, but still just so fired up to have Utah football. As of this moment, excitement is the strong emotion over anything else rather than a late night. That shows you I'm getting old, by the way, if I'm complaining about late game times. What happened to the guy who just graduated college 2 years ago, Nate? It's crazy how time passes us by, right?
Yeah, it goes quick.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So want to close today's show out by talking about a special performance we saw from Alissa Pili in the WNBA for the Minnesota Lynx this past weekend. We're going to dive into that in one moment. But first, want to talk to you all about our great friends at FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot at bringing home big wins of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on the spreads, money lines, player props, and more. You can visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. And the locked on is capital L and O. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make every playoff shot count. And the NBA finals are here. Our Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and the Dallas Mavericks, led by the big trades for PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. They just beat my Timberwolves, so I'm heartbroken still. Are they going to win the NBA finals? Or is this finally the Boston Celtics, who have had one of the best teams in the NBA, feels like for the last several years, finally get through? Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown feels like they're ready. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, whoever is Kristaps going to come back. Whoever you feel like is in for a big series, or just however you see the games playing out, make sure you head over to FanDuel.com/locked on to make your bets today. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You know, speaking of my Minnesota Timberwolves, their season may be over, but the Minnesota Lynx are just getting their season rolling, and Alissa Pili was selected by them in the first round, something I love. Having a Utah player, my college team, playing for one of my professionals teams had me fired up. And, you know, it takes time to settle in. It's also absolutely wild, like the turnaround. It's the shortest turnaround for any professional sport, right? Think about when we were watching the March Madness games in that March-April territory, and now in May, they're already in the WNBA action. So it's quick turnarounds, and it's a fast adjustment these athletes have to make. And I think you saw that with Alissa Pili, right? Where in our first couple games, you know, she only played 10 minutes, just 4 against Connecticut, 2 against the New York Liberty. So just limited time in there. But man, did things finally click for her in her 5th and final game in May. She took on Phoenix, and man, did she go off against the Mercury. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 7 of 9 from the field, all in just 15 minutes, I might add, too. She's out 77% from the field, 4 for 4 from 3, and absolutely helped the Lynx getting 95-71 victory. Talk about doing the most in limited opportunities. Love seeing Alissa excel at the next level, and I especially love seeing her excel in Minnesota.
Yeah, it was super fun for her to make the most out of the time that she's getting. Looks like the Lynx went up about 10 points early in the first quarter, so coaches felt comfortable rolling her out there, getting her reps with the team. Like you said, she was just drafted, and the season started right away. She was able to go out there, hit 4 for 4 from the three-point line, watching the highlights, did a great job finding space, rolling to the basket, and had the players be able to get her the ball. It was it was fun to watch Pili highlights again. I wasn't sure how soon we'd be able to get those again.
Yeah, love seeing her excel in the NBA and can't wait to see what she does next. Feels like she's got her footing. Has only been averaging 4 points on the season. That number is only going to continue to climb as I think she's in for several more big performances off the bench for Minnesota. And I'm excited to continue to watch and cover her progress on Locked On Utes. That is definitely something we'll be following along closely on the show. But that is going to close out our show today. Nate, always appreciate you stopping by. Make sure you guys give him a follow on X at CrazyN8. on the app formerly known as Twitter. Nate, thanks again for coming on.
Hey, appreciate it, JT. We're chipping away. We'll get there eventually for the new season.
I know football season is closing in, less than 90 days away, and soon we'll have the glorious Utah football team back in action. So that'll do it for our show today. Lots of fun off-season stuff still coming on Locked On Utes. Look forward to seeing all of you with us tomorrow. We'll see you then.